Hey, Josey, how's it going?
How are you?
Great. How are you
Wow,
doing?
you got a nice setup.
Oh, thank you. It's just my loft in my house. That's my kid's door behind us.
This is all the art I have. This is
Oh,
all
it looks
the art.
nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that original?
Yeah, it is. I did it.
I
I sell it too if you want me to give you the link.
don't know if I can afford it.
I just moved into this place, so there's
Oh,
not much here.
right
That's why I'm like sitting down on this couch.
on. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to hang out and
Oh,
do
thank you so
this.
much. I appreciate it.
Our podcast is all about your journey in the music industry and how you got to where you are now.
Oh my gosh. Just like that.
Just like
Okay.
that. So I did see that you grew up in Kentucky. Is that
I
right?
did. Bardstown,
Okay.
Kentucky.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Basically how it sounds. No, it's really good. Bardstown's amazing. It's like a really cool. Actually, at one point, it was America's most beautiful small town.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, I think that might have been like 2015 something. But yeah, it's great. It's where all the bourbon's made. There's Heaven Hill Distilleries, Jim Beam. So
Oh,
I kind
really?
of grew
Wow.
up with the smell of mash. That's how
Yeah.
they make bourbon. It was just always mash in the air.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, but it was good. I wouldn't trade that for anything. Just growing up in a small town.
Yeah.
I love
And how
that.
did you get into music?
I actually used to sing in the choir in my high school. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
what?
and
But
so
prior to that, no musical.
no,
Oh, wow. So high
I
school.
basically had to be forced into choir.
Okay. Why were you forced into it? And how'd you get into the choir?
I just didn't really. Well, funny enough, I actually used to date the girl whose mom was the choir director.
Oh, okay.
I would always be singing, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, you need to sing." I mean, I only went to school with 77 kids, so
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Small town,
it
very
was like
small high
we need a
school.
choir. Yeah, so I just started singing, and it just kind of went from there. She was like, "Wait, I think you're good." I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah. So was that like what, like freshman year or later
Yeah, just from freshman year on, I just was a part of the choir.
wow. And
I
then
can
how
give
did
you any psalm you want.
I'm sorry?
I can give you any psalms or any hymn you'd like. Uh,
Well, when you were singing, did you pick up an instrument or was it just all vocals for a while?
so from that, um, like I started to do some contests and like karaoke contests in town, and then just kind of traveled around Kentucky for that. And an agent that is a big agent in Nashville who's from my hometown
Hmm.
gave me advice, and he was like, "Look, if this is something you actually want to do, you need to start to play." So then I taught myself acoustic.
Oh, so you were just going around doing karaoke contests? That's like
Pretty
a
much, yeah. There used
wow.
to be a thing called the Colgate Country Showdown. I don't know if you have you ever heard of
Uh-uh.
that?
No.
Yeah. So I was like going through that, and you'd win in the small town, and then you'd go to regional, and then you'd go to state.
Oh, cool. And it was all from karaoke,
Yeah,
bass. Oh my gosh.
right?
What
It's
were
like a
you singing?
professional
What?
karaoke competition. That was
Yeah.
fun.
Did you win it?
I won all the way up until my regional.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I didn't make it any further. But
What did you get to select your own? Like, how did that work? Was it kind of
yeah, you picked. So I picked Keith Urban's "Making Memories of Us"
okay?
and Jason Aldean's "Hicktown." This is my life. Wait, this is so fun. Just going back down through memory lane. I love it.
That's cool. So
Yeah.
what happened with after the karaoke stuff? You wanted to really? You said
Yeah.
that this manager or agent? You said agent
Yeah.
contacted you and said, "Hey, let's." Obviously, he saw that you had talent, or he wouldn't have
Well,
even said
no.
anything to
So
you.
that actually never connected. He just, he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you advice. See you later."
Oh, it wasn't like, "Hey, you're great. I want to like give you some." Oh, okay.
I, I wish it was. Um,
So he
no,
told you to move to Nashville.
yeah, for sure. He really like that was kind of the push, which is
Mhm.
great. So then I did move to Nashville just right out of high school. Just kind of joined the scene, and did the publishing companies, and kind of joined around and did as much as I could there, and started in that way.
Okay, just like as a songwriter.
Pretty much, yeah. And then was
Okay.
just doing, open mic nights and showcasing your own material And it was fun. It was just what you did, you know?
Yeah. How much was it a lot more intimidating and vulnerable when you're doing your own stuff as opposed to doing the karaoke contest?
Yeah, so that was kind of the newest thing for me is I was like, oh, I need to write my own songs.
Hmm.
But that's always and still is my favorite part of just the whole music process.
Uh-huh.
But it was only intimidating to me because Nashville was a big city.
Right. And
I
it's
mean,
the
it is.
music capital of the world.
Totally. And so I was like, okay, I'm moving, to this huge city from this small town, on my own. I'm 18, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But
that must have been overwhelming in itself,
it
aside from
is.
trying to
It's
find
just
people to play with.
you just hear, tales of, star-eyed, youngins moving to the big city and you're just playing around and that's just what it is like.
Hmm. And how, you just started going out and trying to meet people? Like, how are you even getting into the PR
Yeah,
rooms and stuff? Oh, okay.
exactly that. And then just kind of making demos and then started, handing out the demos and just going around to all the different labels and you'd be lucky enough to get a meeting or someone to accept it.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then that's kind of when I joined onto a super small little label.
Okay. And that was all done through the demos that you had
Yeah.
started? Okay. And
Mhm.
what was the label that kind of took a
So
chance?
it was a super small one named Plum Run.
Okay.
And what I did was eventually didn't get to put out this project. So
Oh,
then
you've recorded and didn't get to release it?
right. And so then I ended up just continuing it independently.
Okay. What was the reason behind not being able to release it? Something with the label?
No idea.
Oh, really? It just didn't happen.
I was going a different direction. I was like, okay, great.
But you put it out.
Yeah, so I put it out.
Okay.
So that's actually the first album that I put out called My Life on the Radio. So that was like,
Oh, so you put out that was a full length then. So you put
yeah,
that
that was
full length
cool.
record out right away.
Yep.
Wow. And
Yeah.
with that album, what were you getting bigger shows? Were you touring or anything like that? I know that you're kind of like new to Nashville at that point.
So at that point, I kind of really turned to social media side and I was still doing a bunch of open mic nights, but I
Mhm.
didn't really have anyone to, book this, book that, travel around. Um,
Sure.
so I turned to the social media side and really built up kind of a fan base through that. That was
Mhm.
when MySpace was really big. So I won a
Oh, okay.
MySpace contest.
Oh, you did.
Yeah. So I won a
What was the
MySpace
contest?
contest. It was some Eventbrite thing to open for Little Big Town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the fans voted for who they wanted to
Uh-huh.
open, and so I was, like, hustling people, vote. I was
Yeah.
basically a musician and a politician.
And
So I
you
was
won though.
I was really busy.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
didn't
so
you
I won. So I ended up opening for them in, Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was, like, incredible to be in a stadium like that.
oh my gosh. Yeah. I couldn't like, were you playing, did you go from like coffee shop, smaller singer-songwriter stuff to like this main stadium stage?
I mean, there was, like, no transition, yeah. It was,
Oh my gosh.
so I, like, had to hire a band and
Oh wow. Yeah.
producer who helped me on um, My Life on the Radio on that album, had a bunch of connections and a bunch of studio musicians that we used on the project who came
Hmm.
along too. So came along for the show and we just kind of all carpool to Oklahoma and,
And
and,
played
and
the
we did
show.
it. Yeah, it
Wow.
was great. And they're the nicest people. You just never, I don't know, you just hear horror stories about meeting these celebrities who aren't as nice as what you think.
Right.
And they were nicer than I thought they were gonna be.
That's
I was
cool.
just this kid, and they were just so nice. Yeah, that was a really cool memory that I'll never forget.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going out on stage to a stadium full of people, that tell me about that. That must have
Yeah,
been wild.
and usually I was singing, other people's songs, so
Uh-huh.
it's cool to kind of be singing your own songs.
Oh, sure. Yeah, because the bigger stuff you were probably doing was the karaoke things and
Totally.
covers. Yeah. And then now you have your original stuff and you're going out. How many oh, you had that whole album out though, right? My Life on the
Yeah,
Radio.
so I had that
Oh,
whole
okay.
album out. We got to do, I think, 3 or 4 tracks, Yeah, we did like 3 or 4 songs, which was really cool. It was like a 15-20 minute set.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
And
I
then
wore
from
my Ed Hardy t-shirt. I was killing it.
I was killing it. Well, after that show, did that open up any other doors for you?
It did in a sense, but then it also didn't. You know, at the same
Hmm.
time, I'm kind of like discovering my sexuality and getting into, you know, understanding all of this stuff and trying to navigate my career, but also myself.
Sure.
Um, so that was kind of the point when I was getting in front of people who could say yes, but we're saying no because we think it may be kind of difficult, you know?
Hmm. That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, it's super interesting. And so looking back on it then, I was, you know, almost like a sponge and I was just soaking up any advice that anyone was kind of giving. And once
Right.
you hear, you know, how hard it's going to be for you over and over and over, you're just kind of like, well, then maybe I won't do it.
Right, right.
it was a passion of mine that I've now realized the passion is a lot of in the craft and the songwriting. Um, so with that, I ended up moving to Miami. I met these other producers and I was like, well, if, you know, if I can't make it in this town, I'll try another one. And so
Oh,
I
okay.
just shifting the way I wanted stuff to sound and ended up moving down there for a year and working with them. They were great. Circo
And
Massimo Entertainment.
and did you put out any music with them?
So I put out one. We actually did a few, but I only put out one track with them.
Okay.
But the funny side note is one of those producers did about half of the tracks on my new album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we actually developed a really good relationship, and he's incredible. And he just allowed me to experiment with new sounds,
Hmm.
and he kind of broadened my horizon on that. You know, because I grew up to country.
Right. And I was gonna ask you about that because your first record is like a straight up country record.
Oh my God, it's country. You can hear the
Yeah.
banjos.
Well,
They're in
right
it.
away, the first notes, you're like, okay, this is a country record. But like the new tracks that I've heard from yours is very like there's definitely cowboy has that definite like country
Oh yeah.
vibe to it, but it's definitely a lot more pop electronic.
Yeah, it really is. And over the years, it's kind of shifted. And he's been a big part of that. His name's Cosme Licardo.
Hmm.
Um, and he's been a big part of shifting, you know, you grew up this way, you're safe with this music. You could experiment. And I'm like, no, I can't. He's like, yeah, you can. I'm like, okay, you're right. But I've always loved pop music, but I just never thought that was my lane,
Right.
you know? And now I just want to do what I want to do.
Yeah. And
And that was just a natural progression for me. I, you know, moved to a bigger city. The pulse got faster. You know,
mhm.
things got just more life to them. I guess. You know, you're
Mhm.
not in the country anymore.
Right.
Um,
Was that like so you were you playing out in Miami and people knew you as a country artist and you weren't playing as many country songs?
I
Like
would
was
love to say yes, but no.
okay. Oh, okay.
No one knows where I am now. That's okay. No, I wasn't. I was just, you know, trying to make ends meet. Really, I was just bartending and working on that. And in my mind, I was discovering myself and I was taking a step back from anything kind of public,
Hmm.
um, and just kind of going through those strides and hopefully it would come across in music. And so that's kind of where I was in working with this group in Miami. I
Okay.
did, however, get to go to Europe with this group and kind of promote this track that we put out, Stuck in My Head, which was really fun.
Oh, cool. Was that your first time playing abroad? I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, first and only.
Yeah. Oh,
We
really?
Yeah, we hit up different clubs. We went around and we did Berlin. We did a place in Rome. Oh my gosh, where else did we do? Oh, we did Lausanne, Switzerland.
Wow.
You ever been there?
Huh. I've never, dude. I'm the worst. I've only been to Mexico. I've never been
I
outside of
love
that.
Mexico. So
So yeah, we're in San Diego, so I could throw a rock like from my driveway and throw it into Mexico. but
okay, damn,
but I've never been anywhere else. I know it's awful, but
I mean, it's another world, obviously, but it was cool to be that young, I guess, and be able to experience that.
Yeah. And you ever been across to
No,
Europe before? So it's
never.
all a new experience. Plus, you get to perform at these venues.
Totally. It was like these European clubs. It was like really cool. It was fun.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
then, so you get back from that, you're back still in Miami. And then,
Right.
did you? What was
So
next for you?
so what was happening next is I was still stuck on, well, I really want to make Nashville happen. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to do it.
Get back there.
So I went back with a bunch of new material. I kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I like teetered the line of country and pop a little bit, and I
Okay.
worked with new people, and it still sounded like a lot of stuff I had previously done, but with a fresher, pop production to it.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, this is great. I'm gonna go back to Nashville. And I ended up meeting this company, Aristo Media Works,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, they were like incredible.
Yeah, I know the name.
So before, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know them personally. I just know the name. I've
Yeah,
talked to
they're
the
so
artist.
they're
Really good.
amazing.
Yeah.
And well, prior to kind of signing on with them, I was, going around and doing the whole rounds again. I was, tossing demos, and it was the same kind of thing, like you're great, but we don't really know how big of a niche mark or like how big of a market it's going to have for a gay country singer.
Hmm.
By this point I was okay with my sexuality. It was still something that, you know, you just kind of didn't talk about at that point,
Sure.
which is sad, but
Oh yeah, I know. It's great. Yeah. What year
it
was that, if you don't mind me asking?
2000 I moved back in 2013. So this
Okay.
was between 2013 and 2015.
Oh, so it wasn't even that long ago.
No, not at all.
Wow.
Like the strides I think I've made recently are bigger than any strides I've ever like made in my life
Oh
in
wow.
that aspect. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's just the South has such a lack of awareness with sexuality.
It's sad that it even matters. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Like you're a country artist. Okay, who cares about anything else aside from that?
Totally. It's like GLAAD has all of these studies that, you know, parents are okay with having gay friends, but when it comes to somebody parenting or babysitting their child who's gay, they're uncomfortable with it. So
Really?
there's just a lot of like verbal, acceptances, but internal kind of hesitations in the South.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So when it's coming across in your art and your passion, it's a gamble that someone else doesn't want to make.
Right.
Like a big label, they're like, yeah, you're great, but we don't want to be those people first.
Right. Yeah. It has to work first
And I'm
until
like,
they.
why not?
Right.
You
Then
know?
yeah. So
Um,
they didn't want to take a chance on it because they didn't know what to. It's not like you listen. I don't. Yeah. I guess I don't
Here's
really.
the thing. I would have loved for someone to just be like, you know what? I don't really like your voice, and I actually don't really like this craft of songwriting.
Right.
Maybe if the songwriting's better, or maybe if, the voice is trained a little more, then we can do it. Like that's some feedback that's personal. And I would
Right.
be like, wow, great. Thanks. I can work on it.
Yeah. But
It's
they
something
can't
that
tell you
I
how to
can't
change your life.
change that's going to hinder the journey of my career.
Right.
So it was
Yeah.
just another one of those things where, okay, I was a, I was more steps ahead in kind of understanding and discovering myself, but still the journey of like a gay man isn't necessarily linear. So I was kind of back a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, and so with that, I was like, okay, well then I'll just kind of keep all of this to myself, and publicly I'll just display something else.
Hmm.
I was like, well, it happens in pop all the time. People have stage names.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
People ask about their sexuality and who they're sleeping with, and they're like, oh, that's my own personal business. And I was
Right.
like, okay, great, then I'll do that.
Yeah.
You know. And so I did it. And my middle name's Ignatius, so I shortened that to Nate.
Uh-huh.
Last name is Greenwell, shortened that to Green. So then I put out music under this
Under
Nate Green.
Nate Green.
Nate Green, yeah. and GMV Nashville with Aristo Media Works was the people who put this record out.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's funny just because I kind of came to them as Nate Green.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first time that I'd walked in somewhere and they heard my music and they heard, everything I was doing, and they, saw pictures and they kind of saw a track list and everything, and they loved it and they were like, yes. And I was like, oh my God, yes.
And this is what the new album.
Totally.
Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did it and we put out Wild and Free. That was the first track from it. We did a video. It was amazing. It was very different still for the country market, just because it was such a poppier dance track.
Mm-hmm.
And then putting that out. Am I talking a lot? You can stop me.
No, this is
Okay,
the whole
great.
thing. This isn't about me. I always say this. No one cares what I have to say.
Okay.
No one tunes into this for me.
I was like, wait, maybe there's questions that I'm not answering.
There's no real questions. It's just I just make them up as we go along.
I love that. Okay, anyway, back to no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, back to you.
So I did that and put everything out, and then there was an instant backlash from the gay community, because I had previously done some Pride events and I had, hosted some Pride things, and I was very not keeping this a secret.
Right.
It was just, no one really asked, no,
yeah.
No one was really, they were just like, wow, you're pretending you're straight. This is offensive.
Oh, yeah. I did see that Instagram post you did, which was very, very moving. I mean, I couldn't.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I just seeing some of the stuff that are in the intro of that video. I'm like, oh my God. That just sums up how terrible people are. They can just do whatever they want from behind a computer screen.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. It's funny, really looking back on everything, there is not a single person that ever said anything to my face.
I'm sure. Yeah, of course not.
I'm like, wow, the internet, when you hear about all these kids being bullied, of course, obviously, unfortunately, it happens in schools, but the majority is online, and you feel that's your life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's awful. I have a 12-year-old son, and he was in the midst of it. I mean, before COVID, when everyone was in school, it was just constantly being bullied, kids doing somebody will say something and then they'll screenshot it and post it on their Instagram stories. Just it was brutal. I couldn't believe some of the stuff.
I can't even imagine doing my teenage years with Instagram.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And especially what I always tell him is I'm intrigued to see when he's, his generation is the president, how they'll find these videos of them, or you did this back when you were in high school. Now that it's all documented online, all their TikTok videos and all that stuff.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's so wild.
It's nuts.
But yeah, I did see, I mean, that's awful that happened.
And I just feel like being able to, in a healthy way, understand it, you have to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. You have to have empathy. Mm-hmm. And for me now, I can see the optics of it on that side. It looks like I dropped off the face of the earth. I came back as a straight human. Mm-hmm. And if someone was, a loyal fan and they loved everything I did, and then I came back as someone else, I can totally see how that correlates,
Sure.
The phase I was in then, I wasn't able to openly talk about it as I am now. Mm-hmm. And so for me to have been guys, oh my gosh, I'm not comfortable with myself, therefore I'm gonna release music under a different name.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done.
Right.
It's just interesting how I wish I would have been so brave enough to be no, this is me, this is who I am, I'm gonna stick to this music, and I'm just gonna do it because it brings me joy. Mm-hmm. It's just it comes with age that you get that wisdom, and it comes from making mistakes and choices, mm-hmm. that you're able to kind of talk about them openly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because now you're doing what you wanted to do.
Totally. It's when you're in high school, you're literally asking to go to the bathroom, and then a couple months later, you're like having to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like such a trip, you know? So moving to Nashville, I was like, okay, I guess, you know, who do you want me to be? Sure, I'll do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to play. I want to write songs and perform them. Well, how do I do that? Right.
Yeah.
You know, this
So
wasn't working, so I'm going to try this route.
yeah. And I think the sexuality part of it and just kind of not knowing who I was, I think throw in the fact that I grew up in the South. I think it was just almost like a perfect combination for something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why I'm doing a lot of what I'm doing now, you know, not only for just the joy of it, and I love to do it, but I want someone to see those videos like you did, and I want someone to see, you know, this kind of journey from start to finish, because maybe they're in the same shoes I was in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're teetering on the fact of, well, maybe I can't do what I want to do. It's like, yes, you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's, you know, hopefully times have changed a little bit since then, but
Yeah. Hopefully. Who knows? You know, it's such a weird
I
world
mean,
and
I
weird time
still
right
haven't,
now.
you know, like a prominent gay artist in Nashville.
You
Like,
haven't. You
well,
said
where
you
they're
have.
at. Like, I would love to see one.
Oh,
Yeah,
you,
I
you
still
haven't
think the
seen.
wheel is just kind of churning the way it was.
Oh, that's interesting. And are you in Nashville now?
No, I actually just moved to Houston, Texas from New York.
Did you really? We
Yeah.
actually, my family, we went there, you know, a few months prior to COVID to look, because we're in California and
That's
it's
great.
not as fun as moving to Texas where I can actually have space and
So I
everything.
live in a 250 square foot studio in New York. I don't want to talk about it. And now I'm in an 850 square feet. Like, obviously, it's crazy. The amount of space, like the amount of value to your dollar, it's just, for where I am in my life, it was a no-brainer. You know, I love New
Right.
York, but I was ready to kind of change it.
That's yeah. We were looking in Cyprus. There's a place called Bridgeland that was like really
Nice.
dope.
I-
Um,
I'm in the Heights.
okay. Yeah, we when we traveled there, we just kind of went around. We went down to Galveston and did all that, and
Very nice. Yeah, you can have the beach.
yeah,
You can
I
bring all
know.
your artwork that you got hanging up right there. You can have more space for it.
There's space for it there.
More space for it.
Have you been playing out in Houston at all?
I
Or
have
obviously not now because of COVID, but
no. So, like, after the whole Nashville thing, I left. Well, that's kind of part of it, I guess. Is I left music. I ended up moving to New York and joined Barry's boot camp. I kind of always turned to fitness just as that, you know, step back. It just always was a big part of my life. And I was like, wait, maybe this is also a passion of mine. You know, I don't think you can just have, maybe you have multiple. I was
right.
just open to anything, really, you know.
Yeah.
I hated my life and I wanted to change it. So then I moved to New York, joined on with Barry's, kind of took a step back from music, and then eventually was like, you know what, I think I'm ready to get back in it. You know, I met some really good people.
Yeah, was there like a moment that you remember and you're like, you know what, like I should do this again?
Yeah, it was just being, I don't know, it was just like being alive and like being and coming into your own, I guess you'd say, you know. I was getting very confident in who I was. I was starting not to worry so much about what other people thought. I think that's huge when you're young. That's like all you do, you know?
Yeah.
And so with that and this kind of newfound thinking, I was like, I wonder how that would correlate into music. You know, I started listening to a lot more dance music, just a lot of really cool experiences in New York. And I was thinking, wait a minute, this could be a really cool chapter. And I just kind of visualized it as an album. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I was like, wow, maybe I am like, you know, creative like that.
Right.
Yeah, so it was good.
Did you write and record the record in New York?
This record was everywhere. I did the first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I actually went to Stockholm and did 2 tracks there with this group. I mean, the Swedish, I mean, they're top notch. You know? When it comes to like pop production, I mean, think about it, like Tovlo, Robin,
Oh,
You know,
sure. Yeah.
Max Martin, who like rules the
Rules
radio.
everything. Yeah. He writes like every hit song you'll ever hear.
Yeah. I was like, I wanna see what I can come up with, you know, and really just slap on some 100% pop production to it.
So you went out to Sweden.
So I went to Sweden for a week and wrote with these guys, and yeah, and we did a bunch of tracks, but ended up recording 2 of them. And with that, it just started rolling. And
Okay.
I wanted you to see this art.
Oh, I was wondering what that was back there.
So yeah, we just started rolling. And then with that, I reached out to the producer I was telling you about, Cosme Licardo, before, and I was like, hey, I'm back at it. Let's go. Let's go.
Cool.
Yeah, so he did a bunch, and then I reached out to some people I worked with in the Roadmap album under Nate Green.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, "Oh my God, we thought you'd never come back. Yes, let's do it." So it was so support. It was great. Like, you know, when things are supposed to align and when things are supposed to happen, it really feels right. And that's kind of a feeling I never had in the music industry before. And nothing ever felt right. I just did it.
Yeah, now it feels right. It feels like what you should be doing.
Isn't that weird? You know, like
yeah.
You feelings, you just ignore it.
Yeah, because well, you're at that point you were so green to the whole thing. You don't really know what you should be doing. You know, it's like, how do I navigate this music thing I want to do?
Yeah, and you idolize the radio. You idolize, you know, TV. You know, reality shows were becoming prominent. There were just these gloriouses. Is that a thing?
Sure, okay. It is now.
There were glorious lives. That's what I meant to say. That you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and at that point I was like, well, you know, maybe music can, you know, take me somewhere, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So what were we talking about?
Just where you were writing the record. You said you wrote it all over the place.
The record, yeah. So I'm all over the place too. Maybe this is
okay.
That's it. So many people. And
so the songs that you wrote in Sweden are on the record?
Yeah. So we put one out, Where Are We Going? That was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another one on the record that's coming out a little later.
Okay.
And then I worked with a guy previously in the country world. He did the next one called Wreck.
Okay.
And then Cosme Licardo, which I worked with before in the country world, he did Fire Eyes.
Mm-hmm. So that one has a more pop. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, he was like, we're gonna put a tropical pop spin on this.
Yeah.
It's just so cool writing acoustically and sending these demos. And I wanted it to be fun for these producers too. You know, I wasn't like, I needed to sound this way. I was like, you know, I want it to be fun for you. Let's come up with a sound. And they were like, great. So they got to really have fun with it too, which
that's cool. So you would write you'd send them like, here's the demo of just you playing acoustic guitar and singing the song. And then they would kind of try to build around that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I pretty much had, well, the people I worked with in Sweden, we wrote together. Everything else, I pretty much had the track written. And the producer would kind of put his take on it. He'd be like, you know, lyrically, these two don't really match up. Let's change that. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So it's fun because these songs are products of a partnership in craft, which I love. And I've never really got to do that as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. I haven't talked to anyone that's really given me the behind the scenes as far as the production goes.
Yeah.
Story where it comes to where you're like, yeah, I just, you know, I give it to them, kind of give them the freedom.
Dude that did 6 of these tracks, who did a lot for my album Roadmap as Nate Green. I've never met him. We've all done it like this.
Oh, wow.
He's over in Spain. And I just love the stuff he would put out over there. And when I was in Europe, I heard a lot of his songs, you know, because he was really big. I was like, I want my stuff to sound like this. So I reached out to him and he was like, yeah, let's do it.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's great.
And when's the record coming out? It's not out yet, right?
No, it's at the end of this year.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I didn't see a date, so I just wanted, I knew it wasn't fully out. I just wanted to check. Cool. Yeah. So the end of the year, it's going to be out. The newest single you just put out was Bottle Rocket. Tell me about that song. I think it's awesome.
I I really wanted this future bass sound.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I told the producer Cosme. And I wrote this track actually on an airplane. I remember just running back and forth to the bathroom, like doing voice notes.
Like voice memos.
Yeah, literally. I'd be like, excuse me, sorry, I just came up with a hook. They're like, what? They for sure thought I was gonna bomb the thing, but no.
Right. Or is this guy like a crackhead or something?
Yeah,
What's he
literally.
going back in the bathroom for?
What are you taking on this plane?
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's how you wrote it, and then you just went home, or when you landed or whatever, and
Totally. Yeah, and then I like put it to a guitar chords, and then that was the fun part, is being able to send this acoustic track, and the producer kind of could rearrange some chords. He'd be like, I think this minor chord would sound amazing there, and I'm like, yeah. So then we decided on this future bass kind of structure to it, and I mean, he just nails this stuff. Like, any production part of this is these guys. I mean, they're killing it.
Yeah,
I would love to say I produced. It's just I'm giving input. I'm like, wow, that sounds great.
It does, though. The record sounds awesome. Or
and
the songs I've heard so far.
It's a project that this is what these guys are good at. This is what they do. Right. And I'm gonna let you do that. Yeah. Like, I love the way this sounds. I love the way this doesn't. Like, let's meet in the middle on this. That was kind of what it was all about. So
have you played?
What?
Have you played any of these songs out yet?
No.
Oh, wow.
To answer your question about Houston.
Oh yeah, you're in Houston.
I haven't played any out, because you asked me, have you played out in Houston at all? No, I haven't done any.
But none of these songs. I didn't know if they were done prior to moving to Houston.
No, we had like a big release party for Where We Going in New York. Just to kind of launch off this whole project. But yeah, no, I was just drinking.
There you go.
I was like, that sounds cute, right?
What about like live Instagram, anything like that? You doing any of that?
No, not yet. There's some stuff planned just for the album release in itself, but no, not anything like that yet. No, I kind of want to just, it felt like at the end of that, I don't know, I'm really weird in that sense. It felt like, okay, I recorded the album, this chapter's done. So now we get to the point of, okay, now we promote it.
Right.
And it's weird because I visualize the album as a time in my life, and that time in my life is over.
Right. And you're looking forward, and that you still got to promote something from behind. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very like, God bless my manager, Morgan Katz. She pushes me. She's like, we are doing this. So it's really good. But yeah, I would love to play these out. I think it'd be such a fun experience to kind of get back into the live performance of that, because that's something I haven't got to do in a while.
And you have all the production elements now too, which might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. What about the Road to Me? Are you still doing those episodes? Because I've seen the 2. I watched 2 of them. I don't know if there's more than 2.
There's gonna be 6.
Oh, okay.
It's just like with everything that hit, it was just like, well, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to talk about, I don't know. I wanted to give importance to what's important right now. Sure. And I didn't want to be like, okay, so let's watch how I changed.
Right. Yeah.
I want to be able to do that at a time that feels right. And that's kind of all what this is about lately. And it just didn't feel right to kind of keep that going at this time.
Okay. But you have 6 ready that you're just
but it's definitely going to happen.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's super empowering. I mean, empowering to watch that. I mean, especially the second one. I mean, wow.
Yeah, that's the heaviest one. So we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
It doesn't get heavier than that. It gets a little lighter as we go.
I mean, the first one still, and it was pretty, with the first one, Shame. I mean, that was a pretty heavy one too. Maybe not quite as gnarly as the second one.
I just wanted to go in, I just think directness is key, especially when talking about this stuff. And that's something that the number one driving force of a gay man is shame.
Yeah. That's interesting.
You know, it's like I'm gonna overcompensate for everything I'm ashamed of. This is why I'm gonna be so successful. You know, this is why I'm gonna act a certain way. This is why, you know, I'm gonna do what I do to overcompensate until you unpack all of those feelings and kind of bring them out to the light. That's just who you are. It's almost like you're born perfect. The world just kind of makes you put up walls.
Yeah.
You know,
That's they're because you wouldn't be shameful of something when you're you need other influences to be
you're literally
to create that.
Yeah.
Create that
So
mindset.
as a gay man, you have to unpack these things, and then you have to peel down these layers of yourself that you've built up to protect yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like to be able to take a social norm that people throw, you know, like, oh, that's so gay. You know, like back in the day, everyone used to say that.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy to think about that.
So now you have to kind of unpack what that felt like eventually when you started understanding you're gay, hearing that's so gay.
Hearing that all the time, yeah.
There's always such a negative connotation to stuff that you kind of have to twist your mind and thinking.
I know, and like you said, like just even with your career as wanting to be a country artist and people knocking you down for that, it's like, how many more obstacles do I have to overcome here?
I'm gonna be a country artist. You just wait.
You already are a country artist, or you had a country record.
So that's good. No, I love Nashville. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the record, the songs I've heard off the record are awesome, so I can't wait to hear it in full.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, and it'll be out by the end of the year. Hope if the quarantine lift is up by that point, are you hoping to go out and tour it?
Yes, that would be amazing. Like, it's coming out regardless.
Right, but I mean, if we could play shows, they're gonna try to set something up.
I mean, even the way shows can happen, you know, I guess we're all about adapting now, right? So whichever way we can do a show, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I know. I've talked to somebody earlier today that was telling me that they were playing a show. I think it was in Denver, and the way that they're doing it is like, if you like the venue, I think was like 250 or something or cap, and they cut it to 100 people, but they set up like 25 tables that are all 6 feet apart, and then 4 people at each table. So it's like you kind of buy a table.
Does the table have to have like chips or something? Like
I don't know.
To count as a restaurant?
Yeah. You
like,
get your own waitress.
You guys can let me play.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
You know, how this unpacks. I know the drive-in concerts they tried here in at least in Southern California where we are.
Chainsmokers, right? I saw that, I think.
Oh, they did. I know, like they've done, like Andrew McMahon did like a couple in the band Switchfoot did one. But I don't know. I've seen like video stuff of it. I don't know how that's gonna last forever.
I'm down to adapt however.
Yeah, right. I know. Somebody will come up with $1 million idea of how to do this safely.
If anyone listening to this has a good idea, hit us up.
Sure. Thank you so much, Josey, for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
I have one more question for you.
Let's do it.
I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh my gosh. It's funny because I was told this a million times by people, but you just don't know what it means. So I'm trying to think of another way to say it, because it's like, be who you are is the best advice. And that's where I am now. But the road to get there is just not a straight path. You know, like if I would have heard be who you are, I would just have gone this way, straight path. But it's like this. It's up and down, you know?
Yeah.
So I would just say to learn what authenticity means. You know, what makes you authentic? Because I think if you can find what makes you authentic, you hold on to that and you kind of keep that, and that's who you are. And don't let anyone change that. Bring it back.